DeSanto Propane is 4 generations strong as a trustworthy, family-owned business with unmatched customer service. Go online at DeSantoPropane.com for more info or call toll-free at 1-800-752-4574 today. Since 1937, the difference has been DeSanto Propane.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Against the Boards. Chamberlain Bauder here with you for a bit of a beefier episode for this week, talking about hockey and lacrosse in Western New York. Spencer will be coming to you with some updates from the European Box Lacrosse Championship, as well as what our Knighthawks are doing outside of Knighthawks right now. Been some kind of crazy stuff going on with certain players with their output, and a lot of transactions into the MSL as well. Thomas McConvey now playing for Brampton after, again, same exact outline, you could say, as Zeddy. Same day that they're released from their team in the PLL, they're going and signing with a team. For T-Mac, it was Brampton in the MSL. For Zeddy, it was Allegheny in Can-Am. And they're playing already, and T-Mac absolutely lit it up and had 7 points in his first game of Senior A. So that was sweet. But for me, I'm going to talk about some hockey today because it's July 2nd, which means that yesterday was a big day. And there's a lot that happened, and specific to the Amerks, we've got a lot of departures. We've got a couple of arrivals that will potentially or more likely be Amerks. And we are also going to go over who is still a free agent as of July 2nd. Now, given this, let's be honest, like, I'm recording this at 9 a.m. on Thursday. By noon, this could be different. So someone like a Jake Lecision could be signed on a free agent contract by then. Not 100% sure, but let's get into it. First things first, we're going to take a look at the departures from the Amerks as of this last week. Let's start with the big one that everyone knows and should want to talk about. Devin Levi to the Oilers with a 7th round pick for a 3rd round pick. He wasn't going to play in Buffalo. Let's be really clear and honest about that. The season that he had in Rochester was not good enough to warrant him getting a season starting in the NHL, but it's enough for him to go get another opportunity somewhere else. So now he heads out to the Oilers, and the Amerks are going to be looking for what that goalie situation is going to be in Rochester. Apparently Yarmo talked a little bit during this past week about looking at getting a veteran AHL goalie to be there for this team. Not sure what that would look like. The goalie conversation with trades is definitely an open area of discussion right now. I mean, I guess I'll just paint the picture as much as I can. Stuart Skinner signs to the Winnipeg Jets. Who knows what the situation going on with Helly is. They're saying he's going to get traded. Is it to Buffalo? I think that's the only trade that this team could do that would make them significantly more of a cup contender. I'd also pee my pants a little bit. If he was in Buffalo, that would be insane. But there's a lot of goalies in that pipeline right now. I'd love to see Scott Ratzlaff this season. But yeah, no more Devin. He is gone. Also gone in a trade to the Anaheim Ducks for Olin Zellweger went Anton Wahlberg. He went along with that 45th overall pick. And Zellweger already signed to a 3-year contract with the Sabres now for the defenseman. And then some free agent departures as well. Zach Jones yesterday afternoon signed a 2-year, 2-way contract with the Utah Mammoth. Josh Dunn signed a 1-year, 1-way contract with the Washington Capitals, and Jagger Joshua signed a 2-year, 2-way contract with the Minnesota Wild. So a lot of departures right there of names that have become pretty familiar to Rochester fans over the last couple of years. It's going to look different. And I think Dunner's one that hurts a little bit more, but when he wasn't here this season, it kind of hurts less. But those are the departures at the moment. As of last night at midnight, those are the departures for this team. Free agent signings and acquisitions. First of all, let's talk about the new general manager for the Amerks and Stacy Roast. Awesome to, obviously, we needed to move into a new front office situation there in Rochester. So that is the hire, and already a couple of guys on the first day of free agency that are highly potential Amerks. Jason Poland and Dennis Gilbert, to be specific, from what I've looked at stat-wise of these guys. Both of them spent significant amounts of time in the last 2 seasons with their AHL affiliates. But Gilbert, a Buffalo native, if you're going to move on from Tucky, I guess you bring in another one, right? Yeah, I mean, right now it's just that first day trades or first day acquisitions are those depth signings, right? Those maybe 2-way contracts. They're going to be down and maybe not start the season with Buffalo. But ultimately, there's still plenty of time. It's only July 2nd right now. Let's take a look now. Last area to kind of really talk about is the Amerks free agency. But actually, before I do that, Trevor Kuntar signed to a 2-year contract. They put that in as essentially like a free agent because they didn't, go out and tender and re-sign him before the window opened. But a 2-year, 2-way contract for Trevor Kuntar is awesome to see. In terms of free agents, Gavin Bayreuther and Isaac Beliveau both played around 30 games for the Amerks this season in the back half of it, coming over in trades, and they are both unrestricted free agents. Jake Lecision, as we talked about earlier, is probably the biggest name left on that Amerks free agents list in terms of guys that would be great to see re-signed in Rochester. Olivier Nadeau is at the end of his rookie contract. In my mind, I don't know if he warrants being re-signed by this Amerks squad. So that will be an interesting one to kind of keep an eye on and see where it really ends up. And then Peter Tischke is the last one. Tischke this last year signed partway through the season on an AHL contract. So in my mind, if he's going to re-sign, it's going to only be an AHL contract, and he probably won't sign until way later in the year. But I could be wrong. Could happen at any moment. Definitely stay tuned to the Amerks pages on social, but more importantly, I'd say their 2026 player tracker on the website if you want to stay as up to date as possible with any of those moves and trades. Yeah, it's not fully up to date at the moment, but the other thing too, never forget, when in doubt, search the player's name and the word hockey, and you'll be able to find their contract. Big things, obviously, at this point in time in the hockey world. It's July 2nd. It's free agency. We're in the thick of it, and the Sabres are a contender that people want to play for. So it's different than it's been in the past. A couple years ago, there was that moment where they tried to cross the threshold of it's not the same Buffalo anymore. Like, this is coming to a winning culture. Now it's really coming to a winning culture based on what they did in this last year. So, with that said, you move on from some younger guys that weren't up to the standard, and you likely look to bring in other younger guys to replace the prospects that are still have that high ceiling, but also bringing in the guys to fill out the rest of the squad now. Like, you have the bones, now fill out. So that's kind of what they're doing, and they're lined up to do. That's going to do it for me today on this episode of Against the Boards. Big thanks to my producer, Paul Russo, for getting us up and running, and I'll pass it over to Spencer to talk all things lax. You're listening to Against the Boards.
Hello and welcome back to your Nighthawks section of Against the Boards. It's been a long week of lacrosse for myself. Over the last 7 days, I've probably watched about 37 hours of games, so definitely a little lacrossed out right now and getting on the end of being tired again. But with that being said, Euros are in full swing. Recording this on the night of July 1st. Happy Canada Day to all the Canadian viewers and Nighthawk players. We have 3 days left of the tournament, and both sides are just complete chaos right now. On the men's side, I just got done with the Germany-Poland. I tracked that game. Germany winning that one 13-6 and really dominating that whole game. Chris Boucher, NLL champion now with the Toronto Rock this past year, he has just been outstanding for the Germans in this tournament. And then on the women's side, it's been really I guess you'd call it domination from the big few teams. You've got Germany, Ireland, Israel, and England. Those are really the big four at this point. On Friday, it's the semis for those games. You got Israel, Ireland at 10:30. These are times in Prague, so don't be expecting to wake up at 10:30 Eastern and watch these games because they'll be long over. And then the second game is Germany and England. That's going to be a very good one to watch. On the women's side, if I had to pick, I think Germany is going to come out on top of England, but that Israel-Ireland game, that is a tough one. Ireland, I had tracked the Ireland versus England game, and that one was incredible. Ireland took that one in the end. I believe it was an overtime game. And it was just back and forth. Two great teams. Ireland, proven they are a lacrosse country. They have been very good. And then on the men's side, I mentioned Germany got the win over Poland in the quarterfinals, so they are now in the semifinals. It'll be Germany and Ireland, and then I believe Finland and England, yeah. And then those two will battle, and we'll have a championship on Saturday night. So that'll be fun to watch. Nighthawks wise, I guess the big news this week for the team, well, not really on the team, but just summer ball in general, Thomas McConvey was released by the Philadelphia Water Dogs. And I haven't really paid attention to PLL this summer. It's just been focused on summer ball up in Canada. So not totally familiar on the situation up there in Philly, but he immediately was signed to the Brampton Excelsiors and had quite the performance. So we'll talk about that later. Going back to the European Box Lacrosse Championships in Prague, Cam McLeod is playing for Team England. He's had a couple of very good games, including a 45-save performance against Finland. Unfortunately, England lost that one in overtime. That was an incredible finish. Definitely, again, all these games are free on YouTube, so if you are a lacrosse fan and want to watch some it's a different style of box they play out in Europe, but they still got a lot of good players, and it's just fun. It's the summer. There's not much lacrosse if you're in the States, so if you can just watch it for free on YouTube, definitely gives you your lacrosse taste that a lot of us have been missing. As we mentioned, Thomas McConvey in Brampton now. Nathan Kapp now with the Oakville Rock as well, taking faceoffs. And just kicking it back to Brampton, Josh Medeiros, a hat trick and a 5-point night for Brampton. And the same night, Thomas McConvey, welcome to the MSL. 4 goals, 3 assists for 7 points. He was very good. They're 2-8 right now in the season, so not the season Brampton wanted, but again, you had McConvey in there. He's going to help you. That team also does have Riley Hutchcraft in between the pipes, and they also have, who am I missing? Oh, Connor O'Toole is the other goalie, son of Knighthawks legendary player Pat O'Toole. Ryan Smith, a 5-point night for the Chiefs against Brooklyn on June 27th. Smith has 11 goals and 13 assists. There was a game tonight. I have not checked that out, so I will do that as soon as I'm done with this. Ryan Lanchberry was traded to the Peterborough Lakers. Not sure if I mentioned that or not a couple weeks ago, but he's being that quarterback on that team like he is for the Knighthawks. He's had a couple of very good games. I believe he had like six assists or something against Brooklyn the other night. And Brad McCauley also with a strong performance in that game. The Lakers starting to move up in the standings, but the other night they had a loss to Oakville, so I'm not sure entirely where they're sitting with that. PLL All-Star Weekend is coming up. 3 Knighthawks are starters. Jake Pacino, the long pole sicko for Denver. Mitchell Dunham with the Utah Archers, and that is such a good thing to see. Nobody works hard like Mitchell Dunham. I got a up-close view of that all winter long when he was on the practice squad. Nobody more deserving of this honor than him. And then, I'll say it, the greatest outdoor goalie of all time, Blaze Reardon, with another all-star bid. He's been phenomenal for the Chaos in their season so far. Now we're going to go to Senior B. Zed Williams is back. You may have thought he was back at the end of the NLL season. Obviously coming back from the Achilles injury. He came back really early from. But he's turned it up. 18 points in the last 3 games for the Allegheny Arrows. Zeddy ball game is back. Arrows are now in 3rd place with a 12-7 record behind Tonawanda, team that Taylor Jensen plays on, and Newtown. And that is that for Senior B action. Again, we got Euros finishing up in the next couple of days. I know tomorrow is the men's slate, I believe. No, tomorrow men have off, so it's the women's action tomorrow. I'll give you the whole slate of games. Some of these aren't like playoff games because they've been eliminated already, but starting off Norway and Scotland, then you got Slovakia, Portugal, Austria, Belgium, France versus Wales, Poland and Italy will be going at it, Germany and Ireland, Czechia and Israel, and Finland and England. So those are the women's games for tomorrow. And then Friday, the men will be back at it with Czechia playing Finland, Israel and Ireland, and Germany and England. A lot of lacrosse. It's free on YouTube. I highly recommend going to watch some of those games. And even if you don't want to watch the quarters and semis, you can watch the championship games on Saturday, both for the men's and the women's. So that is going to do it for this week. Oh, and then USA World Cup win against Bosnia today. 2-0 win. and the U.S. is moving on to play Belgium, so that is exciting. And we will see you next week.